video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jane Simmons. I'm a certified personal trainer based in New York City. I set up my ring light and I didn't even turn it on. Here we go. Let's get some warmer light. Turn that shit down. Okay. All right, we're gonna go over two things in this video. The first thing is the equipment that you absolutely need in quarantine. And the second thing we're gonna talk about are my top 5 tips on how to make a perfect program for you. And I really like the tips that I came up with because they're really gonna be great not only in quarantine, but you can actually take these tips and use them further down the line. So you'll be able to use these like when you go back to a gym, or even if you have like ClassPass or something like that, you can use these too. So listen up, okay? So let's go ahead and dive into the equipment that you need to work out with. Number 1 is your body. If you're doing all body weight stuff right now, that is amazing. It's great, especially if you weren't doing body weight before and now you're doing body weight. You've just changed up your program. You've just shown your body something new. So don't get down on yourself because you maybe went from using a lot of weights to using body weight. I think that could actually be a really good thing. And I've actually been like loving at-home workouts with body weight, which I never thought I would say in a million years. I feel really creative being able to come up with them, and I also feel like I'm challenging my body in a lot of different ways. So yeah, I'm actually like loving the all body weight workout life. The second thing that I would highly recommend you get are resistance bands. You don't need a lot, you don't need anything fancy. I bought these off Amazon. They're called Peach Bands. I bought them off Amazon and I think they were like definitely under 20 bucks. I'll link them below. I don't know exactly how much they are. I'll put it on the screen. You don't need anything crazy or anything fancy. Just like a cheap set of resistance bands can get you through so much. I don't really know if I would like recommend them. Like I think they're fine, but there's nothing like amazing about them. Like you could really just get any brand or anything, but they look like this. And they're all stuck together and stretchy because I used to live in Florida, so they've been in the Florida heat. Make sure that you have some different resistances. So like this one I think goes like light, medium, heavy, and then extra heavy. So then the last piece of equipment that I would suggest is just getting one heavy weight. I use a kettlebell, but you could use a dumbbell. If you have a heavy basket or like a big like gallon of water, anything like that, like you can actually do so much with that. So the reason I highly recommend getting something or using something around your house that isn't just body weight is because you really want to work through all of your movement patterns, and you can't do any pull movements with just your body weight. So that's really just the big thing that I think you're missing if you're just doing body weight, is that you don't have any of those pull motions. So the whole back of your body, your posterior chain, is going to be at a pretty big disadvantage. So that's the equipment that I suggest. So I'm going to switch gears here and talk about my 5 tips when you're programming, and hopefully by the end of this you guys are going to feel a little bit more educated when you're scrolling through Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, I already do all of these things, but I'll give you some ideas on like how to take some Instagram workouts and then use those in your actual program. But you can always follow along with my workouts on there and then kind of take them in your own direction. With anyone's Instagram or YouTube workouts, I always suggest taking it and then making it your own. Take what you like, leave what you don't like. So my first tip when making your programs is to be working in all 3 planes of motion. My ultimate goal when I'm programming is to try and switch planes of motion every single exercise. So if I'm in a circuit of 5 exercises, we'll be switching each exercise. So we have the sagittal plane, which is up and down, front and back. Then we have the frontal plane, which is side to side, or anything that has the word lateral in it, that's going to be in the frontal plane. Along with things that you may not expect to be in the frontal plane, like lat pull downs and wide grip pull-ups, because your shoulder blades are actually moving like this. Frontal plane. And then the last plane is the transverse plane, which is going to be anything where you're moving in a rotation. So like I said, I like to try and switch planes of motion every single exercise for a myriad of reasons, but I think one of the most important reasons for me is that we live in a 360-degree world, so I believe that we should be training in the exact same way. A lot of fitness apps, ebooks, programs, and Instagram workouts are living in that sagittal plane. So if you're doing a workout that is like deadlift, reverse lunge, and squats will say, then you are only working in one plane of motion. Like those are all great exercises, but when they're put together like that, it kind of takes away from like how functional they all are. So what I like to think about is that all of us are working towards a specific goal, but we also like have to go about our day-to-day life. If I was training for like a very specific sport, for example, golf players often train like a lot in that transverse plane because they're doing that swing, so they need strength there. But I'm not playing professional golf. I'm playing professional. Jane's a personal trainer and has to get on the subway at 4 a.m. So what I need to do is work on all planes of motion because I need to go through my day-to-day life feeling comfortable in everything that I do. So on top of all of that, switching planes every exercise is actually going to make your brain work a little bit harder, which is going to improve your neuromuscular efficiency. Or you can think about that as like the way that our brain communicates to our muscles. Like, you've probably heard of the term muscle memory. That's neuromuscular efficiency. So I'm not saying like you'll get smarter from working like this, but your muscles and brain are gonna work smarter together. So what's actually gonna happen there is that you're gonna move more efficiently, you're gonna increase your body awareness, your reaction time, your coordination, and I believe your overall strength. Because instead of just working like the front of your core right here, you're gonna be working your outer core muscles, your inner core muscles, your obliques, your erector spinae, and the low back area. When you change planes of motion, you're working all of your muscles. So switching planes also means that you burn more calories, not only because you have to think about the workout, but because you're actually moving more in each exercise. That is a really important tip if you want a high intensity workout but you don't want to be jumping. It's just a really good way to get your heart rate up while keeping the impact low. So tip number 2 is push movements versus pull movements. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit difficult to be doing pull movements with just your body weight. And you can think of a pull as anything where you're like physically pulling something towards you. Normally it has the word like row or pull in the title of it, but think like cable rows, bent over rows, pull-ups, upright rows, lat pull downs, something like that. And as far as your lower body goes, think of lower body pull motions or hip dominant motions as anything that's going to be working your glutes and hamstrings. So think like deadlift, glute bridges, hip thrust, all those kinds of things are going to be your lower body pull motions, but they're more commonly referred to as hip dominant movements. So on the other end of the spectrum, you have push exercises, which normally have the word push or press in it. So think like push-up, chest press, overhead press, anything like that is going to be a push movement. And then your lower body push movements are going to be things that are quad dominant. So think like squats, stairs, stuff like that. And you may even see people who divide their days into push days and pull days. I think that that's really become a trend, like in the last years, people splitting up their days. I mostly see that with like upper body splits. So people do like push day and pull day and they're only dividing their upper bodies, but you can also divide your lower body into push days and pull days as well. I personally don't train like that, but I think that that's totally valid for the gym. I think that it might be a little bit more difficult to do when you're working from home. What might be better is to put everything in together, like push and pulls in the same workout. You want to at least have a 1-to-1 ratio with push and pull, but ideally you'd have like 2 to 3 pulls for every push. Again, it can be a little bit difficult with at-home workouts, especially if you don't have any equipment. So that's why I really suggest getting like either resistance bands or a weight so that you can throw in some pull. To really get a solid workout in, a little bit of equipment's going to be necessary. Again, you don't even have to buy anything. You could just use something like heavier that you have in your home and like row that. But yeah, pull motions, very important. I didn't even tell you why. Here we go. What a pull motion is going to do is it's going to strengthen the back of your body. It's going to strengthen your back, your glutes, your hamstrings. So we live in an anterior world is kind of the way that I like to think about it. Everything that we do is super front of the body focused. So for example, like we type on a computer, we're hunched over. We text on our phones, we're hunched over. We do the dishes, we're hunched over. We vacuum, we're hunched over. Everything that we do really tightens these muscles on the front. So what we want to do is be working the muscles on the back so that we kind of even everything out. And the same thing goes for your lower body. So when you work more pull than push, what you may experience is better posture. You're probably gonna feel a little bit better in your day-to-day life. If you have low back pain, I had low back pain for years. This and changing up like my core routine, game changer. This can also help improve your coordination and increase your overall strength. Oh my God, my foot fell asleep. Oh. Tip number 3 is to create a plan. So you've probably heard this from like every fitness human ever, but creating a plan and sticking to it really is the most effective way to work out. So that doesn't mean that you need to do like the exact same thing every day, but in like a 1 to 2 week span, you want to be doing very similar things. Because if I spend like this week doing like 10 push-ups, okay, then I don't do push-ups for like however many days, I'm never gonna get any better at push-ups. Those muscles are never gonna get any stronger. So what you wanna do is stick to a similar workout plan every week. And I say similar because depending on how you're feeling, you may not be at the same place that you were last week, and that's okay. But you wanna try and program your days to be somewhat similar because you're gonna get stronger and you'll actually be able to track your progression through how well you actually do the movements. So normally you would wanna stick to a plan for 4 to 6 weeks. I think right now with home workouts, depending on how much equipment you have, 6 weeks might be a really long time, so I would edge more on 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. But just right now with like what we're doing, especially if you're just doing bodyweight stuff, I think that 6 weeks is kind of a long time to be sticking to the same program. So like I like doing mine just for the month. So like having a plan for what I'm gonna be doing in the month of May. Tip number 4 is to take rest days. So there's a couple of different ways that you can go about this. I think that you could either schedule in your rest days so that like you know every Thursday is going to be a rest day, or what you can do is decide you're going to work out like 3 to 4 days a week. So you could even do like every other day be a rest day if you wanted to. So you want at an absolute minimum 1 rest day, but I think anywhere between 1 and 4 rest days is appropriate depending on who you are and what your goals are and maybe like how conditioned you are. And a rest day doesn't necessarily need to mean like you're doing nothing. There's a lot of things that you can do on a rest day, like to stay active, especially right now, because if you're like me, you're used to like walking around all day and working on your feet, and now I'm kind of sitting all day. So there's a lot of things that you can do as a rest day. Some examples would be like restorative yoga, or you could go on a walk, or you could do some light Pilates, some mobility work, anything that's not super intense but still gonna keep you moving, you can count that as a rest day. So then my last tip for you guys on programming for yourself is to have your program be full of functional movement. You can think about functional movement being anything that replicates stuff that you do in your day-to-day life. So an example of that would be like a deadlift, because we all pick up stuff off the floor. How we should be picking things up is with a neutral spine, a slight bend in the knee, bend in the hips, grabbing it on the ground, and then using our glutes to bring it up. We don't always do that. That's why I suggest training with some functional movements, because then you're more likely to be using the correct muscles to do things in your day-to-day life. An example of a non-functional movement is gonna be a crunch. So crunches aren't functional because like what in your life looks like crunches? Literally nothing. I think that non-functional movements are fine to throw in like every now and then, but I wouldn't base your whole workout program around them. Sticking to mostly functional movements in a program is not only going to get you to your goals, but literally make you feel just so much better in your day-to-day life. And like I said before, none of us are professional athletes. Like I'm not training to go to the Olympics. I'm not training to do whatever, you know. I'm just training to be me. I'm just training to be the best version of myself that I can and feel the best in my day-to-day life. And the way to do that is through functional movement, because the body is gonna do what you tell the body to do. It's not like I'm gonna do yoga 4 days a week because I really, really wanna become so good at yoga, and then I'm gonna end up looking like a bodybuilder. That's just not how it works. The body is going to react the way that you tell it to react. You wanna reach whatever goal you have. You also wanna feel better in your day-to-day life. Don't forget to put health first when it comes to all of this. So whenever you're thinking about your goal, you're thinking about your why, make sure that you're putting your health first. This is like a whole other tip that I didn't even mean to put in here, but we're going down that rabbit hole. So always put your health first. Always think about how you can use your workout program not only to get to whatever goal you might have, but also just to like feel better in life. Life is hard enough as it is. We might as well feel comfortable in our own skin. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned something, and if you have any questions or if I didn't go over something that you wanted me to go over, comment it below, DM me on Instagram. I'll try to answer all of your questions, or if it's just like a loaded one, I'll make a whole video on it. Don't forget to press that like button, subscribe to my channel so you never miss a video, and I will see you guys next time.